All right. Hello. My name is Isaiah Pugogo Paguyo. I'm going to be doing a review or analysis of the Shock versus the Gladiators from Stage 3, Week 1. So let's get underway. I'm going to have the sound muted because I don't think listening to the casters is very helpful. I think you tend to think what they're thinking, and I think it's always best to try and think for yourselves and not have others' opinions while you're like reviewing. So the first thing I have to look at when the game's about to start is what comps people are running. So we notice we have Sombra, Tracer, Dive, and then we have Gladiators with normal dive but with a soldier. So the first thing you have to look at before like map even starts is what is each team composition trying to accomplish here. So from my research as far as Sombra goes, because I've only seen her played in contenders since this is the first day with her. Most of the time, what happens is that Sombra is going to sneak behind, find a target that they want to dive on, and either hack the target or, depending on who it is, in this case, like, you know, let's say like Zenyatta, there's no point in hacking him, right? Because he's not gonna do much. Instead, what happens is like maybe she'll like hack like Diva or Winston, so they can't peel for the support, and then after the hack goes off, they're diving in, but not after the hack goes off, but it's like the exact same time. So essentially, it's gonna be as Monkey is jumping in, that the hack is gonna be going off. And then as soon as Monkey lands, they should be able to kill the target they want. So the idea right now for Shock, like, is let Dante scout, and they're going to try and dive a specific target that they deem fit. Whereas Gladiators is going to be set up on the high ground in the back, and what they're going to do is they're going to let the soldier poke out the enemy team, and then you have dive, right? So it's fairly simple. You poke out the enemy tanks so that way they can't jump in. And meanwhile, your Tracer and your two tanks are trying to look for an opportunity to dive in and finish the target. And then if the enemy team decides to jump in, we have this long range poke now that potentially put them down to like 3/4 health, half health, or even just removing the armor from like the tanks is really huge. Like, if they don't have armor before they initiate the fight, or when they initiate the fight, you find that they're a lot squishier. So you always want to make sure for like the tanks that they have their armor. So let's see how they roll this out. So Shock's just gonna go down center. Okay, so they push up to the wall for cover. They know they're running dive. So this is really nice here. So you have Monkey Diva set up on the wall right here. They know that there's a soldier up here with a Mercy, and then you have Dante and Sinatra that are going to be wrapping around the right, just like I said. So right now, their dive target is one of these two guys up here. So right now, Dante and Sinatra are trying to get set up and get closer, so that way they can successfully pull off this dive. Let's see if they can pull that off. So right there, they jump in, and at the exact same time, Sinatra's right there. So he's able, and right now they're focusing down Shaz, who is gonna die. And then from that, they're able just to easily clean up the fight because Mercy was low as well. So now it's just a 4v6, and all that's happening here now is just them communicating with each other and trying to focus down targets. Like a lot of Overwatch is fairly simple in my eyes. It's you have a general game plan of what you want to do, and then you think about how you need to do it, and you just try and execute your plan, right? It gets a little bit more complicated when it's like you have to take into account their team comp or like your ultimate advantage or like what ultis you have. But like it's otherwise it's fairly straightforward. You just always think about what are we gonna do, what are they gonna do, how are we gonna do it, how are they gonna accomplish it, and then you just go from there. You don't need to think like so much about these like super small details. You just need to be able to organize your thoughts in that way where you just remove the clutter and you focus on what's important first. Like you kind of have like a priority list. So right now we have Shock winning the first fight. Gladiators switch off the soldier. Shock is going to have an ulti advantage here, and what they're going to want to do once we get the camera back. But basically, they want to see what ultis they're closest to, and they want to try and play off of that. So let's pause it right here. So they can't just straight up dive in unless they get Dante and Sinatra set up, because it's just such a long line of sight for them, and because spawn is so close, you can't just you can't prolong these fights, because even if you get a pick and the fight's prolonged, the enemy team's just going to stagger back onto point very slowly, and you're just going to end up losing it. You really want to have an ult advantage on 2 CP and try and get a real clear mana advantage, so that way you can easily take the point. So right here, if I were the Shock, I would try and get Dante and Sinatra set up either on the right or on the left here. And because Sinatra's so close to having Pulse Bomb, I would try and coordinate a dive or let him poke out till he has Pulse Bomb, and then go in with the Pulse Bomb looking for a pick, and then try and initiate the fight like that. So that way they're fighting a 5v6 and not just a straight up 6v6. The tanks probably they can either head up here or they can head along the side here. Because you want to get as close as possible without taking damage. And then from the Gladiator side, I mean, they're at a huge disadvantage right now. They need to have some sort of plan though in order to be the Shock, because if they just sit back and let the Shock do whatever they want, Gladiators is not going to win, or they shouldn't win, assuming Shock does what the best thing possible. So the only thing that Gladiators is closest to is Asher for Tracer ulti. And I think what needs to happen here, especially since Shock is running Lucio Zen, is because actually no, Sleepy, because I was thinking Sleepy would be going down through the main doors here, but he wouldn't be doing that. He'd probably be going up on the high ground up here, so that way he can't Let me think about this. I'm trying to think about where Sleepy would go and how Gladiators would respond to it. I guess Gladiators plan, because they know that Shock has an ult advantage, that the only thing they can really do is try their best to create a man advantage by taking out the weakest the easiest target, which would probably be Sleepy. So they have to try and look to see where Sleepy is. So it would be up to Asher, and mainly Asher, because he can blink around, to scout out where the Sleepy is. And then based off of that information, he's going to relay that to Gladiators, and they're going to try and maneuver in a way where they can easily dive on the Zen and get the pick that way. So that way they're fighting a 5v6, and even if Shock uses ultis, they're down a man, and their spawn is much closer. So they have to try and create that man advantage. Just basically try and stall time to get to their ultis. Once ultis get introduced into the game, it's like a whole new story. It's like the difference between early game and mid game for chess. It's like this is your opening, and then mid game it's like a lot of tactics, and it gets really spicy because because the board's more developed. And this is the exact same, where it's it starts off very bare because no one has ultimates, and then after ultimates get introduced, because they've been built up, it gets very interesting from there. Because example is if we have Tracer or Genji Blade, but you can, not only are you going to be able to win fights based off those ultimates, but you're able to utilize that time as well to build up your other ultimates on your team. So it's kind of like cycling between ultimates, and not only thinking about the current fight you're on, but trying to think another fight ahead. So it's if we have Trance, and they have nothing on the enemy team that really beats really that needs to be stopped by Trance, you can just be really proactive with your Trance and Trance in, and allow your teammates to build their ultimates off that, and then win the fight that way. And then after that, now you have all these ultimates to work off of. So let's see how Shock does this right now. So you have Sinatra on the far right side. So right now he's waiting for his tanks to get into position, and he's going to want to try and dive Shaz or any targets here. Yep, so he's on Shaz right now. Monkey's jumping in with him. Unfortunately, we see that Sleepy does get picked in the back by Asher, which I expected to happen. I didn't know where Asher's positioning was, but from what I recall, he was hiding on the right-hand side based on like defense by like the... What do you call those? The stupid little things that are... The moving platforms, I'll just call them that. The little platforms. He was over there. So now it's already a 5v6. Now it's a 4v6. So now the fight's just lost for Shock. There's no possible way for them to win this. So they either need to die or they need to get out. And in this case, Nevix jumps off and Sinatra's unable to get out. But now, pause again, because it's always important to do this after every fight, is just because you need to be able to plan and think about what you want to do. We see that Dante has EMP. Nevix about to have bomb, and that Sleepy is also close to having trance. So if I were Shocked, my guess would be we're gonna look for an EMP onto Shaz and instantly kill him, and in the process also try and EMP a couple other people, and then trying to win the fight off that. That's the general plan. Whereas the Gladiators right now is probably going to use Tracer Bomb to create a man advantage, and probably utilize that time to build up Blade for the next fight. And then on top of that, they're really close to Trance. So Shaz needs to build it up fast. So he either needs to hit people, or he needs these people right here to take poke and put the healing orb on them, so that way he can build up Trance. Because they know that Shock has the EMP, and the only thing that they can really stop is pre-trancing it, because they know that the EMP is going to come out on a Zen, and it's just a matter of, can Zen react in time or foresee that happening, and then he trances it, and then they can win the fight off of that. But he needs to build that up fast, because otherwise he's going to get EMP'd without being able to trance. And then going back to that last fight really quick, we saw Sinatra go in like a split second too early against... I'll rewind it, actually, because we should just look at it. Sinatra went in like a split second too early against the Zen. And we see that these guys are all the way over here. So we'll first take a look at the time when Sinatra goes in, and then compared to when Monkey lands. And then we're going to look at how much damage Super and Nevix takes while jumping in, because they are jumping from a fair amount of distance away. So let's look at Tracer first. See, that was very long before Monkey could actually jump in. And on top of that, it's being pocketed by Mercy. So Sinatra can't actually focus down the Zen. He has to turn his focus or attention to Mercy, because he can't kill him at all. I think it may have even been better if they had waited for Dante to set up and look for a hack onto the Mercy. Like they could have waited probably like, let's see, where is yeah, so we see he's all the way over here. Like if they just had waited a couple more seconds, Dante could have hacked the Mercy, and then Mercy wouldn't have been able to fly. And then now we have Super and Sinatra who are on her and are going to be able to kill her through the healing orb. But instead, they jumped the gun a little bit too early, and you'll see that Sinatra can't get the kill on the Zen, and Monkey's not there with him at the exact same time. And then he also takes half damage here. So he's forced to recall back, and now he's out of the fight, and Monkey's over here trying to fight people, but there's no damage coming out. And then now we're going to look back at how much damage Super and Nevix takes. So just watching the health bars. Okay, so they actually don't take a lot of damage, and I think that's because Sinatra went in a little bit earlier. And so what happened is that the focus from Shaz was turned towards Sinatra instead of on the tanks. But I think if they had done that at the exact same time, and also, like I said, waited for Dante, it would have been a much more successful dive. So let's run through this again. Asher got the pick. Super was low because he had dove so deep for the Mercy / Zen, and it didn't pan out. So now he's just a sit and duck there, and the whole team can just turn on him. And then, like I said, now we have EMP from Dante, and he's going to look to basically just use EMP on Zen and have them dive Zen and create a mana advantage like that. Yep, so I was right. That's how Asher was able to pick off Sleepy. He just sat in the back. So let's see where everyone's positioned. So Dante's like coming straight forward right now. I don't know if I agree with him coming like straight forward like this. Like I can see why, because he wants to like EMP a bunch of people. But like you want to like I don't see what the plan is, right? It's like you're going to go in and EMP, but you should have like a target in mind, and I don't feel like he has a target. Because if I were him, and like, I feel like you would take a flank and try and get the EMP off that way. But instead, he's going like straight forward. I guess he is invisible, but I feel like it's just much better to get the flank off, because then it forces them to turn around. Whereas, like, if your whole team is coming from, like, this direction here, they can just back up and know that they're not going to get hit. Whereas if he came from over here and then the tank came in this way, now you're getting hit from two different angles. So you try to get the hack. I was unable to do it. He's moving in now. Once again, he's like, trying to hack people from the front, and that's... You can't do that at all. And it's doing is it's wasting time for them, and now their tanks are poked down. Shock does not have like a ton of healing because of Lucio Zen. You can't, especially as the tanks, you can't afford to take this much damage early on, especially from Nevix. That's really bad, because now the fight is, I wouldn't say it's lost, but they're at a huge disadvantage now, because if Gladiators notices that these guys are low right here, they can jump in because they're full health, right? Like Gladiators right here, you always want to be proactive with your gameplay. You never just want to, be static and just let them do whatever and then you react to it. That's not how you want to do it. Like if you think about like any sports in history, it's always about people trying to accomplish something. People who are winners, they don't just sit back and react to everything they do and win based off of that. No, they have a clear plan in mind and they try and execute that plan. That's how games are won. So like right here, Nevix is super low. If I were Gladiators, I would initiate right now. Actually, they just Valked, now that I think about it. Yeah, they just Valked. So let's watch like a few seconds ago. So now we see Nevix is low. Big Goose got low as well. And then we just saw Dante go back, and then now the Valk is coming in. So now Gladiators is going to go in. And Super is almost down to half health. Nevix is already at half health. No armor. Super has no armor as well. So now this is already not looking good for Gladiators. And if Asher can get a nice pulse here, that'd be good. Okay, one more quick thing on like Sombra and Monkey. See how Dante translocates back and Monkey's just there by himself? Like... That's why it's super important when you're running a Sombra comp that when you're diving a target, you get that pick. If you don't get that pick, it's super bad for Monkey, because more often than not, if he's diving with a Sombra's going to reveal herself, either hack or start shooting. They're obviously going to focus down the Sombra because it's going to force the translocate. She's going to translocate far away, just like Dante did right there, and now Super's by himself. And he's against all of these people here. So you have to make sure that when you're running the Sombra Monkey, you have to execute that dive like perfectly, or you need to make sure that Sinatra's there too to back up Monkey, or Nevix is there to back up Super. But right now, Super's just alone. And this just seemed a little uncoordinated from Shock. And like I said, it just seemed like they didn't have a clear plan in mind on what they wanted to do right here. And Gladiators just capitalized off of Super being caught out. So now Gladiators is in a really nice position because they have a ton of ultimates to work off of. The only advantage that Shock has is that they have EMP. So they can just, if they get a nice EMP off this fight, they can just straight up win because EMP is just going to nullify all those ultimates. But there is the chance that, you know, Gladiators comes back from spawn and then is able to stall out with their ultimates. That's also a possibility. So the best thing to do in this situation, and this is really like important for like 2CP, is you need to try and force out the ultimates from Gladiators. It's the only way that you're going to be able to win, because 2CP is about ult advantage most of the time. And so Shock needs to try and bait out Gladiators ultimates. So what's the best way to like force out some of these ultimates? Well, the only way you're going to force out this is if you use this, or if you get everyone really low, then he's going to be forced to trance. The only way you can force Primal is if you were to Pulse Bomb him and then be diving him at the exact same time. And it's okay to use Expend like Pulse Bomb, because Pulse Bomb, you build it really fast with Tracer, right? Like, we all know that. So you basically will utilize the Pulse Bomb as a tool to try and force out some of these ultimates. And that's another thing too, is like, it's very hard to force out ultimates without expending your own sometimes. Like, if Shock's plan here is, okay, we're going to, because I think they know that they're going to lose this fight no matter what, because of the ult advantage over here. They have too many ultimates, and even if they get some kills, they have spawn advantage too. And if they die with their ultimates, then they just come back, use ultis, and clear the fight that way. So what Shock could do here is they could dive in with the trance, or even wait till the beat drop comes up. One of the two, right? I would probably say beat drop, because you can save the trance for the blade. But you can initiate with the beat drop here, and then now you guys have a health advantage, right? So you should be able to win the fight easily if they don't use ultimates. So basically, you're using beat drop to force out any ultimates from the enemy side. So right here, if I were Shock, you would probably plan, you know, okay, we're gonna beat drop into this fight. Okay, great. Now who's the target? Let's say it's Zen, because we want to force out trance, so that way at the fight after that we can use EMP. Okay, sweet. So now everyone needs to get into position to dive the Zen at the same time we're gonna beat drop. That's Shock's plan. Gladiator's plan, once again, you see that Asher is going to be scouting out for them and telling the team where everyone's going, and he's going to look to try and pick off Sleepy, because their win condition right now is Blade, and they want Sleepy dead, so that way they can just Blade for free. It's easy as that. So we see Shock doing the exact same thing. They're sending Sinatra right side. Tanks are going up top. I have no idea where Dante is. Asher's in the back. He's going to be looking to see where everyone is. So he sees that they're not main, and that his team probably telling him that they're pushing in. They're on high ground now. So he's going to be pushed in. He's going to look for the pulse. He completely misses. Fissure dies somehow, but he gets resurrected. Okay, see, so now they forced out the trance over here. This is really bad by Dante. So they're pressuring Sleepy, or not Sleep. Wait. Oh, my bad. I thought that was Shaz that was in the corner. Okay, so Gladiators did what I thought they were gonna do. They pressured Sleepy. So now he's forced to use trance. Silk Thread's job now is stay alive until trance is gone, and then Blade. And then his team just needs to pocket him and make sure that he can clear up kills with Blade. So they're just going to wait out this trance. Dante uses EMP, so that way they can take advantage of the trance as well and try and get kills that way. I can't really see who he EMP'd, but okay, so he did hit Silk Thread. Okay, Shock this is where like improvising comes into play here, because fights can be very chaotic, but because Sleepy used trance, and Dante used EMP, and that they know that Silk Thread has Blade, their focus is going to be turned to Silk Thread because they don't want him to Blade. They need to get rid of him as quick as possible and then focus on the next target, because as soon as this trance is over, Silk Thread is going to Blade and they're going to lose this fight. So this is really good by Sinatra here, focusing down Silk Thread. And Sleepy is able to pick up Fissure as well. So now this is not good for Shock. The fight's prolonging too long. Dante just died, and Silk Thread's alive now. He's gonna be walking back to the Blade. So they either need to kill these people as fast as possible, or they need to focus down Silk Thread as soon as he comes back. So they demech Diva. She uses Bomb. So here comes Silk Thread. And because they knew Silk Thread was coming back with Blade, Moth just saved Beat Drop for that. Both supports are really low, and they're both dead to Fissure. Let's rewind that a little bit. It was a little chaotic as to what happened. So I see Super jumps up and goes for Mercy. I don't know how he killed her. He must have just jumped up and just held left click, I guess. So that was really big for them. And because the Beat Drop came out, it nullified this Blade essentially. Unfortunately, they went into the corner, or they go into the room where Fissure is, and he ulties, and he's able to get picks that way. Because the Diva Bomb on point forced him like back there, and then he just used Primal. But yeah. Shock doesn't even get a tick off this, because the fight prolonged for too long, and they were able to come back with their ultimates. And Shock went all in right there. They used Bomb. They used Super almost has another Primal, but they use all of these ultimates, and now they're building back up. And yeah, Gladiators used all of theirs, but now it's an even situation, right? Like if the situation is even for Gladiators, that's good. Like especially for defense. On offense, you want to have that. If you're okay on defense, if you're even like on ultimates, it's good for you because you have spawn advantage. And then for attack, you want to have ult advantage because you don't have spawn advantage. It's you always want to make sure that any fight you go into, you try and have some sort of advantage, whether it be from spawn, from ultimates, from positioning to the health of the characters. Those are all things you have to consider and weigh when you're playing the game. And well, I just lost my train of thought there. Sorry about that. But yeah, so this is not good for Shock. They thought they could win the fight, and it didn't turn out. And the main issue was that the two supports went in the room over there, and they got ulted by Fissure, and Fissure just won the fight for them because of that. Because now, like, even if it was still like a 4v4, the spawn advantage is just huge. It's so bad on 2CP that you need to just call it sooner. You just need to be like, yep, fight's lost, and just leave. Because there's just no way that you're going to win that, and you just need to try and save as much time as possible. Yep. So they get pummeled around. And then same thing here. Gladiators plan, they're going to look for that pulse bomb on the back line and try and win the fight that way, whereas Shock's going to be looking to dive a target. I can't even see who they're diving. I think that's Dante right there. And then Sinatra all the way over there. Can't tell. They need to be utilizing Dante more, like for flanking. I feel like they're not doing that as much. I feel like they're going in, well, he's not like set up. Yep, I was right. So I'll play that again so we can see that. So right there, that's Sinatra. He's blinking in right there and jumping in. And once again, I think he's going in a little too early. I think he's jumping in and he's he's forcing the enemy team to turn on him and focus him down, and then he's forced to like recall back again or blink away, and then Super's jumping in now at the time when Sinatra's getting low and he has to pull back, and so the Shock really needs to try and coordinate these dives better. But on top of that, Super's already taken all his armor off. Like now he's just gonna get blown up. They need to be more patient with their pushes. They need to. What they probably should have done is try and like rotate the tanks and the two supports going left side, and try and go through the mega room on the ground there. Because if you can get as close as possible to the enemy team before you dive, that's gonna be the best thing, because there's less time that's spent jumping in the air, and there's less opportunity for you to take damage. But instead, they're jumping straight from here, and they're taking a bunch of damage. Like here, like Super already has like his health gone, which is just terrible. Yeah, I see that these guys are like they're low health, but they're pocketing each other, and the dive didn't go off correctly, in my opinion. I think it could have been done a lot better. And if I haven't seen this fight, but if it goes off, how I think it's gonna go off, Gladiators is just gonna win the fight, because Asher right here is gonna look for a pulse on these guys right here. Yep, and right here we see Asher's going in. He's calling for the dive, and the tanks are counter diving over here. Meanwhile, Big Goose and Shaz are gonna be pocketing each other, and Big Goose is building up towards his Velk, and then he's gonna use it immediately. Yep, so he gets it, gonna pop it. Sleepy pops the trance, but Asher gets the pick there. Fissure is dead, so that's good for them. But they get the res off, and then Asher picks off Sleepy here. So now, if you look at the numbers, it is a 4v4, but that's not good enough for Shock, because once again, it's spawn advantage. Like it's everything is just super simple. Like I said, people think like Overwatch is super complicated, but it's a lot simpler than people like make it out to be. And if you just think of it in like this way, the game's much easier, and it's much easier to become a better player like that, because you're not like thinking about like all these different things, and that's just like a bunch of like clutter. Like it's very organized, and you know what to do. Like you're able to be more efficient with your thinking and your gameplay because of it. Yeah, so this fight's lost. Like Gladiators just stalling it out, and they got spawn advantage, and now Shock's just gonna run away. So now Shock's plan, they're gonna look for an EMP here and dive a target together. But they failed to dive a target successfully here, and they keep going the same route. They either go down main, or the tanks go right, or they go right side together. They need to try and switch it up. Okay, so he gets the EMP off onto Big Goose. They'd focus him down, and then Shaz also got hit by it, and Dante's and Fisher's over on the side getting really low. So now here comes the blade. And he actually gets hacked and bumped into by Nevik, so that was good. Let's see. Let's replay this. So Chaz is going to try and pocket him. Why did the healing not go off on him? Because I see Shaz is right there. Oh, he just got bursted down. So Shock knew in that instance, that was really good by Shock. Like they knew in that instance is like the only thing we need to worry about is Silk Thread, because he's blading, right? And he's being pocketed by the trance. Or actually, where is Shaz? Wait, I can't see him. Is he back? He's probably back here somewhere. Let me go like 1 second back. Oh, I couldn't even see it. But yeah, they knew that Silk Thread was the main target, and so Dante got the hack off on him, so he couldn't get any dash resets, and then everyone just focused him down to try and burst him, and that was really well played by Shock, actually. And then now they have the numbers advantage, and they just need to focus whoever's in front of them. Unfortunately, Super dies to the Diva Bomb, but yeah, they need to focus down whoever's in front of them. And now the fight's just prolonging. And Gladiators is going to be able to win this fight because of it. I think Shock needs to look to try and dry fight more. They keep trying to like win every fight, and that's just not the case with. That's just something you can't really do with two CPs. You can't win every fight. You have to take dry fights and try and force out their ultimates. I think if Shock did that, they'd have a much better chance of winning this map or taking this map a lot faster. Whoa. What? Okay. Sorry. Zoned out for a second there. So Super kills Shaz, and then so both supports go down immediately. I don't know how. Okay, Sinatra's going right side again. Or no, that's Dante. He's crossing over. I can't see anything else. I can only assume Sinatra's on the right side here, because that's where he's been going the whole game. And then Monkey's jumping in. And I think Sinatra's there. And then somehow get the kill. That was not a really great camera angle because I couldn't really see much. But they're able to successfully pull off the dive now. They get both the kills on the supports and then are able to clean up the rest of them really fast. And then they just take the point off of this one fight. So good on them. I would really wish I could have seen it. This is where the stupid all access pass should be letting me see overhead views. Because if I could see overhead views, this would be so much easier. This would be like much better for everyone. Okay. So this is the same thing by Shock. They're trying to dive a target. They're going with the Moira instead of the Zen because with Sombra on your team, it's really hard to peel for your Zen. And so, well, okay. Okay, this is what it is. Because normally, if this is like a Genji or a Soldier, they're not gonna be going off doing their own thing as much. Like Genji will still like do his own thing, but it's not as bad as like Sombra. Like Sombra is like really leaving the team and trying to scout out. And if Zen's by himself, he's gonna die because the only thing he has to rely on is like Lucio. No, just basically Lucio because these four are gonna be diving together. And if you have Moira, you know it's harder to have a dive target now. So and then Gladiators is their idea right now. Like whenever there's a Widow comp, it's essentially give space for the Widow and just let Widow try and get a pick, and if they're hiding out of line of sight, you try and force them into sight of Widow, and you rely on the Widow. And if Widow's not landing shots like consistently, then you maybe need to switch off. And they do this really well here. So what you're gonna see is Gladiators is gonna go on the left side here, and they're all gonna take high ground, and they're gonna set up Widow up here, and they're just gonna wait for Widow to pick off people, and like if they come into line of sight because they need to stall point, then Widow's gonna take a free shot on them. And Shock doesn't notice this at all. They're just set up in the mini room, mini and then the mega room, and just gonna sit and wait for them to come in. And I don't think that's a really good plan. I think they need to be well, the tanks are fine, but the Tracer and the Sombra need to be not over here. They need to be set up on the sides to be able to scout whether they're going there or like going off to the sides. And if they aren't and they're going like Gladiators going on mid, then they're able to wrap around and pinch them from the sides. But it's really good that Gladiators takes high ground here because it's actually fairly difficult for Shock to contest the high ground. Like the only thing they have is the two tanks, but they don't have a DPS. I mean, the Tracer can get up there too, but she has to like take the long way around. It's not instant, right? Same with Sombra. She'd have to use her translocator, and then she's just a sitting duck. So you see right here, they take it slow, they get on to the high ground, and now Shock's just in a really bad spot because they're able to peel back, and now Widow's just taking free shots on them inside there. And they can't contest her at all because she's being pocketed by Mercy and the whole team, essentially. And they're just focusing down whoever the Discord Orb is on and trying to protect the Widow at the same time. And off of that, they're able to win. But they could have also, like, if Shock didn't like jump in on them and try and kill that Widow right away, Gladiators could have just also slowly pressured them with the Widow. So good job by Gladiators right here. So now Gladiators has a huge ult advantage. Like, as soon as they get to the choke, Asher can use sights and see where everyone is, and then now Silk Thread's gonna look for a pulse bomb to get a numbers advantage, and then Big Goose can initiate with the Valk as they try and dive a specific target too. So they go up there to dive the D.Va because she's by herself. Chase her back to the team. Okay, yeah. So Shock's already down 3 people. Sleepy died immediately. Dante's dead. Super's dead too. And Gladiator still has 6 up. Meanwhile, there's a Widow off in the back just doing whatever she wants because she can't be contested. So now it's just gonna be really slow as to how Gladiator is gonna win this fight. Like, Shock may be able to stall it for a good amount of time, but they're just going to keep trickling on the point, and it's just a matter of how well can Shock or Gladiators coordinate focusing down targets. It's good by Silk Thread to focus down the D.Va because he wanted to prevent her from getting mech back, but he's unable to do that. Yep, so there's Widow, just has free reign, and now Shock's just trickling in, and they can't really do much. They just have to keep focusing down targets. As long as they just keep communicating and focusing targets, they'll win that. So, yeah, that was that. That was fairly straightforward and simple. Gladiators, or the Shock didn't really have a plan. They didn't know what to do. They were so far behind, but clearly they needed to sense and not try to pressure the Widow. And then from there, try and win the fight like that. Because if they just let the Widow do whatever she wants, they're just gonna win the fight. Like, because they were so behind in ultimates, you can't really like create any ult advantage or like play off of that. So this is just like the snowball potential of 2 CP. Like, there's not much Shock could have done there except for maybe have Sinatra pressure the Widow, so it would have been easier. All right. Same compositions for both sides. Shock looking to dive with the Tracer Sombra on the back line. Gladiators just looking to poke him out. Simple game plans. Let's see if Gladiators learn and don't let the Sombra and Tracer flank around. Or if they spot him sooner. Whoa. Go back. I want to see where they are. They as in Dante and Sinatra. Oh, I didn't even see him. Oh, they're all the way over there. Oh, but Ash is over there by himself. They're actually able to pick him off. If Asher decided not to run, like, I don't know if he got the hack off, like Dante got the hack off on him or not, but if Asher just decided to run, I think this would have been a much better fight for the Shock, or for Gladiators. Yeah, because Moth gets the boop off on the Shaz there. So now it's just a numbers advantage. And it's just a matter of focusing down targets. Yeah. Yeah, if Asher didn't do that, I think the fight would have been a lot better for them. But like I said, I don't know if he got hacked and so he couldn't run, or if he thought that he could just stall them out over there. Either way, the Gladiator should let him jump on him again. Okay, so Shock doesn't have a lot of time here. Dante's gonna try and build up his EMP as fast as possible because they can look for the pulse bomb and try and like win off the numbers advantage like that. But in all reality, the EMP is probably the real win condition here. So Sinatra's just waiting patiently in the back. He knows that Shaz is up here, and then he misses the pulse bomb. So that's really bad. And Asher also took out Sleepy, and then Super decided to jump off because they need to reset really quick. They already knew the fight was lost as soon as Sleepy died, and then Sinatra misses pulse. They're like, there's no way we can win this. Let's not waste time. Let's just regroup, and we'll have someone touch. Which is really smart by them. And here all... Oh, Dante did use EMP. Wait. What the hell? When did he use EMP? So Dante's over there. Oops, I missed it again. Let me turn on the sound, actually. Let me see if I can hear them.
For just one really good last fight. Sinatra, though, can definitely turn the tide of this pulse bomb.
Okay, so they used EMP right there, but Sleepy's already dead. Sleepy's dead. Sinatra's over here by himself, and he's going to miss the pulse bomb. So essentially, right now, they're fighting a 4v... Not 6, but because... Well, kind of 6, because Big Goose is pocketing Shaz. So they're over here, just fighting in the open. It's like essentially a 4v6. So that's really bad by the Shock. Like if they had saved EMP, this would have been much better. I think their alt economy. I don't like using that because it's not really alt economy, or it's not really an economy. But I can get into that more later, or another time. But yeah, if they just use their ultimates better, like I think they could have taken this again, or they could have won this map a lot harder. Or no, they didn't win this map. Okay, they could have won this map, I should say. But now they're in panic mode. They just have to try and get on and touch. Shaz is in the back alone. And they're just slowly getting picked off one by one, and the Gladiators have ult advantage. Yeah, you can look at like all these like super small things that happen, but in like when it really comes down to it, it's just about numbers. Like as far as like people, like man advantage, ult advantage, time. It's all numbers. And you just gotta play it to those numbers. Shock doing the same thing, running the Somber Tracer. On defense, yep. Okay, so if Shock is smart, they know that Gladiator's gonna run a Widow again, and they cannot allow the Widow to get set up. Because if the Widow gets set up on high ground again, they're gonna lose, just like they did last time. So they have to engage in them much sooner. So they either have to like jump them at the choke or like do it on between the little connector area between the side room where the mini is. If they turn the freaking camera over here, basically right where that connects, right there, right here. They need to jump them there. That's the perfect spot for them to jump because they're gonna do the exact same thing. I would assume is send everyone this way because if a strat worked once before, why not run it again? Especially since they have so much time to spare. Like, might as well just try that strat, right? So Gladiator's looking to do the same thing. Shock needs to adapt and jump him over here. Scouting out, seeing where they are. And they determine that they're not on the right side. They're in the center, so they're going to move left again. Oh, Sinatra and Dante are right there, and Monkey jumps in. So they're able to split them off here. So that was really good by Shock this time around. But unfortunately, they're not able to pick up anything there. Let's see why they're not able to. That's kind of hard to see. I think it was probably the monkey bubble. And there's so many fat bodies. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many fat bodies. There's monkey bubble. There's matrix. I mean, I think they did the right thing, but it's just so difficult to do that with like Sombra Tracer. Because like if they bubble or matrix, you're just losing all your damage because they just need to back up into the doorway, and now Diva Matrix is that doorway, or they sit in the bubble and they take no damage, and then now you have to run through that choke, and you just get cleaved, and yeah, it's not good. And now once again, just numbers advantage. Oh, my video quality's getting really bad. I apologize if the quality is really bad. Visor does that to me sometimes where it just like gets really crappy. All right. So Gladiators got ult advantage again. They can initiate with the Valk to pocket the team, and then off of the Valk they can build Primal, Diva Bomb, that, and also Shazz is going to get Trance. So this should be an easy fight for the Gladiators. But somehow Bishu gets demeched. Wait, what? Why? Okay, Gladiators is all over here. And Bishu's already demeched. What happened? Where is he? So Silk Thread's in the back. Alright, well, I think I'm not going to be able to see it. But somehow he gets demeched. I don't know how that happened. Oh, whoa. Silly me. I know how, I think. I think Sinatra uses Pulse Bomb. I think he pulses the Diva. Yep. So if you watch the health bar Diva, you'll see it like get explode. Oh, whoops. Gotta rewind. Boom, Pulse Bomb. Yep. Okay, so that's what happened. So Sinatra had built up a Pulse Bomb there, so he was able to use it on the enemy team. Wait. Oh, Silk Thread stuck Sleepy, so then he's able to fade off of it. So now this fight is lost. I don't know why Gladiators is trying to go all in right now. Like, Bishu doesn't have mech. Why would you fight this? Why not just wait? Because now you're just feeding shock ultimates, and this fight's already not won for you because he's out of mech. They're about to come up on their ultimates. EMP is just going to nullify whatever they want to do. I think this is another situation where I think you should have just had a dry fight. Like, there's no reason to take these fights in a that's not like it's like a 50-50 of you winning. Like, you always want to try and take fights that give you a small advantage. Like, even if it's like a 51-49 fight, like that's better than a 50-50. You never want to take coin flips. Especially in 2CP. Like, taking a coin flip is super bad because you lose a lot of time if you lose it, and you could potentially just lose the map altogether. Oh, my quality's getting very bad. I apologize again. So now Silk Thread switches off to the... Wait. Did he switch? What did I see? Oh, he was on McCree, and then he switched to Tracer again. Okay, interesting. I think they do eventually go McCree. Okay, so I think they try and run the Tracer again, because I know they do switch to a McCree. So once again, we look at how Shock wants to win this fight, how Gladiators wants to win this fight. EMP, dive target, win the fight that way. Gladiators, I don't really have ultis, so it's probably just going to be a lot of dry fighting and trying to allow the Widow to get picks. That's probably how they're going to win. And if the Widow can't get picks, they need to pressure them to go in line of sight of Widow. And if Widow's still not getting picks, then that's just bad on Asher's part, because he needs to get those picks if they're in the open. Gladiators tries to dive Moth. Can't do it. And then they just clean up. Okay, so now Silk Thread goes to McCree. Yeah. So I think they went the McCree because they wanted to stop the Sombra, which is what I see a lot of like Korean contenders teams doing. Is like a lot of the team comps I've seen is like Winston Diva dive with like McCree Sombra and then Moira Lucio, and I assume the McCree is mainly there to help with the flanker and help protect the supports from dive because of the flashbang. And this is really nice by Shock. Like they're very proactive in what they're doing. They're not letting Gladiators set up. They're saying no, we're gonna take the fight into our own hands, and then they jump them up there with the pulse bomb. And not only do they get a pick off of the dive, but then Snatcher gets I think like a double or triple off the pulse bomb, and then they just win the fight off that. Oh. Again, I'm really sorry for the quality of this. I know the match is almost over, so should be okay. So right now they're just okay. So Shock jumping in was not good here because they're not all on the same page. I think they're not all on the same page. Can't dive them right now. Gladiators is just sitting here trying to poke out and try and build towards like Deadeye or like use Valk right here. They're trying to build up to their ultis and then they're gonna initiate. Probably using like Valk to go in so that way the dive characters can get pocketed without Mercy like getting shot at. And then Shock dove in without these guys being ready, and now, or the tanks did, and now they're sitting ducks, and they're gonna get poked out really hard here. Fissure somehow gets onto the back line. Oh, he jumped. I think he had jumped in. Where is he? Okay, see, so he's jumped in the back there because he knew he had primal. He knew he could afford to jump in. And then Asher got to pick on the Sleepy. Fissure gets to pick on the Moth. And now it's all downhill for here. Now that they have a numbers advantage, Gladiators can just slowly pick off whoever comes on the point. Yeah, they just needed one tick. So yeah. That was my analysis of that. Overall, Shock could have done I think Shock could have won that map a lot harder. Or they could have won that map, I should say. I think their dives are very uncoordinated, and they didn't have enough dry fights. Like, they never built an advantage for themselves, and so they kept like taking 50-50 fights or like using ultis when the fight was just very difficult to win. And so because of that, they just wasted a lot of time and it put them really far behind. And then Gladiators did a really nice job on first point, just getting that Widow to high ground and then utilizing the pressure of Widow to kill the enemy team by forcing them to jump. And then on second point, the first time around, they just had an ult advantage, so they were able to snowball him, and they knew exactly what to do, so that was good by them. Second time around, it was a little shakier, mainly because Shock was able to get that pulse bomb onto the D.Va, and then they were able to win the fight off that, and then Shock was able to stabilize, but then all of a sudden, the fatal mistake for Shock was they tried to dive onto them in the back, and then now Fissure jumped in on the supports and was able to destroy them. So, yeah, that is my analysis for the Volskaya map for Gladiators versus San Francisco Shock. Thank you.